Awesome. Well, go ahead and get it started. I'm going to go ahead and add you in, Leslie. Hey, Dr. Elmore. We're about to get the conversation started. I'm allowing. Well, there she is. Hey, Leslie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The weather is really beautiful today.
That's
So,
awesome. Are you outside?
yes, I'm outside. I was like, you know what? It is nice. It is too nice to not enjoy, especially coming from the chilly weather that we've been having.
Nice. It's been chilly because you're still in Kansas.
Yeah, I was actually in Manhattan, and then I just came back to Kansas City. So I'm back in Kansas City, but over there it was so cold for no reason. It was so disrespectful outside. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
Gotcha.
So
Well, I'm in Brooklyn, and it's been like hit or miss. It's colder at night though, for sure. Trying to get
yeah,
fall is coming, or fall is it's coming.
I'm excited. I love fall. So
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey everybody, we're about to have the conversations by Kansas State Black Union and the K State Alumni Association. What's Advocacy? I'm excited for this, Leslie.
I'm super excited.
I'm gonna we can start with some introductions.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go first.
Hello everyone. My name is Ceci Ramirez. I'm actually a class of just this past May. Actually, I'm class 2020, or the first class affected by Rona.
Oh man, you're legends. You're legendary.
Legendary. But yeah, no. I dual majored in secondary education and in English, and I also got a minor in Spanish translations. And yeah, I just got a position as a college advisor at Sumner Academy in Kansas City, Kansas. So I'm pretty excited.
Congrats, that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Justice Davis. Actually past BSU president, class of 2016 from K with a degree in marketing and communications. I currently live in Brooklyn, New York. I've been working for Hormel Foods for the past 4 years now. Time flies. And so yeah, I'm excited having this conversation with Leslie today.
Your class of 16. Okay.
Yes,
So I got I got to K State around fall of yeah, like fall of 16. So you left right when I came in.
proof, and you're already done. Don't do that. Don't do that online. That.
You look good.
I, that just made me feel old. So,
No, you should don't say that because nah. Okay, don't say that. It's okay though. I work with high schoolers, so I'm gonna feel old for the rest of my
there,
life.
there you go, a little payback. All right. Yeah. So I guess we could go ahead and kick off the conversation. Something that's really crucial right now, and definitely relevant to everything that we're saying today. So,
For sure. Yeah, and I feel like it's a conversation that, especially like at K State, I feel like, um, I don't know about like your experience, but I know for sure, like as soon as like I stepped into campus, it was just something that I felt the need to get involved with. And I mean, I'm guessing you too, since you were BSU president at one point, so which is pretty awesome.
yeah, we should like talk about our experiences. Then, like said, you felt a need to get involved. I'm very passionate about it. Like, what's the process of like from transitioning from high school to college, and this desire of, okay, how can I get involved more with athletes or some type of sorry, you can hear the train pass. I'm in Brooklyn. I can't help that. Can you hear that?
No, actually, I can't.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let it go. Okay, because I can hear it really loud. But yeah, the process of trying to find a group that's about community development and supportive, etc. I'm just curious as to your process of that. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Well, for me, I was blessed enough. I'm a Kaufman scholar, so I had the opportunity to basically have my college paid for, and that's really one of the big factors of why I chose K State because I'm from the Missouri side, so I was gonna get out of state tuition, and if it wasn't for Kaufman, I definitely would have not gone to K State. Um, and I don't know. I guess I just wanted somewhere that would be close to home, but still far away, where I could become more independent. So I guess that's why I picked K State, and I went and I visited, and I really liked it. Uh, I guess fall of just 16. It was a dark time, kind of, you know. I feel elections brought a lot of tension onto campus. So from my experience, I mean, right off the bat, it wasn't the best, I guess. We had, you know, the blackface incident. The whole there was just like a lot straight off, like from my freshman year. I remember the day after elections, we had "Build the Wall" written on campus, and you know, I was actually born in Mexico City, Mexico, and so I'm an immigrant myself. So I felt really just not secure. I felt uncomfortable sometimes in class, and I was just like, you know, I can't like I couldn't just sit down and let all these things happen. So the first organization that I was really a part of, and that honestly helped me find a voice on campus, was LULAC. So LULAC is the League of United American Citizens, and I started going to the meetings there. We actually went. I think BSU held like a little, like a conference to talk about the whole blackface incident. So we participated in that. We went, and that's how I also got like a look at BSU, and later on, I got taken to the MSO, and from then on, I don't know, I just started getting involved. The MSO,
Oh
that
man.
little room, bro.
But I find it interesting though, because you came in at a very like a critical time in I guess current history, you know, with the Trump era, and then it's, I think 2016 is when Kaepernick took the knee and saw protesting. I believe, you know, for the first time on in a nationwide sports programming, right, on that network, and we saw what happened to Kaepernick, and you got not only seeing that play out in media, but also experiencing again the tension, the racial tension. I think that has heightened since Trump got in office on campus, with, you know, things being written. So yeah, you came in at a very, I guess people were a lot like aware of everything during that got to K-State. So that's my process was a little bit different. So I got there in 2012. What grade were you in 2012?
Um,
Yeah,
zero.
you were in 8th grade. I know, like something crazy like that.
I was either in 8th grade, or I think I was a freshman.
Yeah. Okay.
I was a freshman, yeah.
Okay, so okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. Yes, I got there in 2012, and I think for me, I wanted to find culture. I had went to high schools in very suburban areas, and wasn't necessarily culturally ignorant, because, you know, I definitely grew up. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, as well, Missouri side, and so I went to high school in Johnson County, and you know how Johnson County is, very rich county, suburban, but I necessarily didn't have that background, right? My family was, I think, traditional Southern, right? So I went to church around Black folk. My family, very, I guess, culturally aware, and my grandma's roots and all these things. Being in high school, you know, you kind of, you're trying to find yourself, and then if everything,
Right.
then you kind of give in, right? My whole goal, I wanted to HBCU. I couldn't afford an HBCU, so Kansas State, that tuition, because I went to high school in Johnson County, like I said. I was like, okay, I got to get connected with some type of community that where I can expose myself and learn more about my culture. Be around more of my people in a different setting. And so that's why I got connected with the Black Student Union, and I was nowhere near how I thought today. Like, I was definitely very, granted, you got to college, you have seen the Trayvon Martin's incident, you've seen the Michael Brown incident, you've seen Freddie Gray, Eric Garner, all that. I had just experienced Trayvon Martin. That happened my senior year of high school, and I still wrapped my head around it. I'm like, well, if I still could. And then I got to K-State, and I think Black Student Union definitely opened my eyes to a lot of the injustices that were happening recently. Again, I grew up about the civil rights movement. That's where history stopped for me when it came to like a lot of racism. And so I kind of just woke up, for lack of better terms, at K-State, and then just learning more, reading more. You know, I would say I got my first stage. I call it awokeness. Just that freshman year and seeing everything the upperclassmen, the juniors and seniors of that time did within B, protecting Black faculty, and have meetings with the provost to kind of understand our needs, demand certain things, and that was, and Dr. Gordon was still there, and it was just kind of was a reawakening for myself. So I came in looking for. I found advocacy in a way. So that was my process. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't know, everything like that you were saying, it's so true. I feel like I was like during high school, like when all this stuff was happening, like I remember some of my classmates, like because I did this like early college thing, so I wasn't necessarily like in my high school, like I would take classes outside. But I remember there was like an assembly, and some of my peers, they got in trouble because I think the governor or somebody came to our school to an assembly, and people stood up and did a whole protest. I went to Lincoln College Prep, and
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so I remember people did a protest during it, and like they were threatened and stuff, and like the news. And so
Mm.
I don't know, I just remember I've when the whole Mike Brown situation happened, of course I was underage, so I couldn't go to St. Louis, but I do remember marching here in Kansas City and stuff. So I think it's just been always something that I felt like the need to be a part of, and just making sure that, you know, if I have, because I know, you know, I have more privilege than perhaps a Black student on campus in a certain extent. You know, like, yeah, I have, there's certain limitations that I have, you know, not having necessarily my citizenship or things like that, but there's still certain things that I get a pass by. I feel like
Hmm.
it's
And
still,
what way
I feel like it's still true today.
can we dive deep with that? Because I'm
Right.
privilege. I'm learning more and more each day that privilege is on a spectrum, and I try to be conscious of the privileges that I carry in conversation, especially at work now. And I necessarily didn't have that type of mind in college. I had to, like, I knew I was just understanding in college what white privilege looked like. Even though I
Right.
high school, college was a time where I had to attach a name to it, and
Mm-hmm.
then it came for me. It was like, okay, well, privilege is a white thing, a white straight thing, a white,
Right.
right, and I knew that, and I knew the male demographic had a certain privilege, but then I'm like, well, work, now having conversations about inclusion and diversity in corporate setting, I'm like, okay, well, constantly check my privilege. Maybe my privilege is in this moment the fact that I'm a little bit more educated on the subject matter than you, or maybe my privilege in this moment is the fact that I'm here, I'm in this space to talk to a certain leader in my Black aren't. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just curious, when you talk about your privileges that you found, or ways that you feel like you have a little bit more privilege or get past as opposed to your Black brothers and sisters, etc. What does that look like? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so for sure, I definitely agree. I feel like the more I got educated, the more I was like, wait a minute, because at first you just think of like white privilege and
Mm-hmm.
just like how you mentioned. I feel like now, kind of just within my own community, I feel like there's definitely a big divide when it comes to just white passing Hispanics get
Mm-hmm.
way more privilege than probably I would. But then I think about it and I'm like, okay, I feel like um, when it comes to just being real, I just feel like if there was someone Black and then there was someone me, and then I'm in the situation too, I feel like if anything were to happen, they're more likely going to look at the whoever's Black in the room and assume that like it's just that discrimination, that racism that people sometimes even subconsciously have. I feel like I just feel like I have more privilege in that sense of like my, like I'm still brown, but I feel like compared to someone who's Black, like
Dark.
like there's no way,
Yeah.
yeah, darker than me,
Yeah.
there's no way to deny that I don't have more privilege than they do. Um, of course, like I mentioned, like there's things that being part of the LGBT community, like obviously I feel like there's some privilege I don't have, or like I'll be like, okay, compared to like men and women, like there's less privilege that I have as a woman or like as an immigrant and things like that. But if we're keeping it real about like being black in America, I feel like, oh, sorry, a plane's coming by. So
It's okay. Keep going. I can still hear you though. I can still hear you.
okay, you can say to me. Okay, yeah, but I feel like being black in America like has always been something difficult. It doesn't matter if you look back in history. Like it's always just been something that, um, and people try to deny it, but it's true. There's just if you're black here in America, you still have like a lot of things that you have to overcome.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Thanks for sharing that and being that transparent on your understanding of like what skin color, because there's really what it is, like how
Yeah.
color factor, even though you may not identify as white and you're a Latinx woman,
Mm.
you still feel like, okay, because my hair is a certain way or my complexion is a certain tone, that I get more privileges as opposed to someone else with darker complexion. So that's an interesting
Yeah.
thing. How do you think that kind of plays? How does that affect I guess the idea of showing up at the protest? And I mean, I know protests can be first. I guess we can start there. Like, what moments did you engage in protest at K State? You talked about high school, but what about at K State? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, at K State, I feel like, I feel like, I guess how I would use, I in a sense, I guess my privilege. I guess whenever I started becoming more involved in organizations at K State, I wanted to make sure that if I was in the executive board, to make sure to connect that organization with BSU, meaning that like if there was events, if there was anything that BSU would host, I would try my best to make sure to inform the Latinx community, because unfortunately, there's racism in the Latinx community. I
Mm,
mean, there's Afro Latinos, and they still are being discriminated against. I just feel like it's a global thing,
yeah.
unfortunately. So I've tried to kind of just make sure that I share uh, and like voice and help BSU, I guess. But at the same time, I've tried to kind of also not, um, how is it? Like, I want to be able to help and be an advocate, but I also don't want to take over and be like, I want to make sure that the people are still like the people in BSU are still at the end of the day the ones who are sharing their stories and their experiences, because I can understand, but it doesn't mean that I fully like I've experienced what they have on campus. Um, we've experienced certain things, and we have similar feelings about certain issues. But at the end of the day, I've been wanting to make sure that they're the ones who take lead. So I feel like I've joined protests. If I've been asked to, like, I'll speak at protests.
Okay.
Um,
What
but
what what were the moments that you were protesting? What, like, throughout your course at K State?
yeah, I think one of my I guess I don't want to say favorite, but like most memorable ones was my freshman year. I think there was a lot of protests actually my freshman year, because after the blackface incident, there was a noose. They found like a noose. I remember, and they
Yeah.
held like a protest, and um, we just walked around like campus, but also like just around like Aggieville around there, and we just took over, and we just kind of, it was like for Black Lives Matter, but it was also for like making sure that we let people know that immigrants were welcome on campus too. So it was like a combination about
Okay,
so I think that was one of my favorites, I guess. And um, I don't know. I feel like there's just been so many protests, and for different reasons, unfortunately.
got it.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. So maybe a little bit similar, well, different, because I think when I was at K State, our original protest wasn't necessarily something that happened, from what my memory happened on campus. It was more so what was happening in our communities, and St. Louis being so close. My junior year of college, junior year, I had to think back, was I was president of BSU, and Michael Brown had gotten murdered that summer before that fall. And so it was like, as soon as he was on campus, it's like, we need to, as a Black Student Union, we need to do something to bring awareness to the situation, and also to stand in unity, right? So I think protests, as we see them play out, they have many different purposes. I think that they can be multi-purpose as well. So, one could be awareness, and also standing in unity is something that's just a powerful moment itself. The main thing is to act, right? So, agitate whoever it is that you feel like could control a situation, or at least influence a situation, agitating them to get something to do. So I think from hearing what you said about the news on campus and all that, it could be that agitation, like, let me call it agitation, to our community to say, hey, this not only happened, so you're doing awareness, but I'm agitating our leaders on campus to actually do something about it. Whereas for us, I think it was more of a little bit of just more so on the awareness side of this, of, okay, this happened, let's stand in unity with Ferguson. How can we support? And then I think, so in that moment, that was eye-opening to me because of the backlash we got for just something that we were taking a stance on. I think that we did it multiple times. I felt like it was a snowball effect, like Michael Brown happened, and then it was so many names, and now every time there's always a name, now there's always a hashtag. And so that I hate to use this word, but the spark of that, I feel like, from that Michael Brown situation happened, and then it was just accumulation of things. So we did multiple, I would say, protests, and then we did a sit-in union. I think it was that fall. We literally laid on the union floor, spread across our union, back before the union looked. Now it was the old union. You don't about that. That's crazy. But I was on the first level when you walked in. That's crazy that you have no idea what that looks like. But that we had so many students getting an app called Yik Yak before Instagram was even that popular. Wow, I'm dating myself. People can go on this app and talk a lot of crap, for lack of better terms, anonymously, and so that, I mean, like, threatening our students, calling out the president, which was me at the time. I don't think they knew my name, and so then I had to address the community. Now, not only did we bring awareness and we got that backlash, now it's like, okay, now I'm about to cause agitation, because we can't let this type of bigotry, you know what I'm saying, flourish on campus. And that was my first time of kind of really getting slapped in the face for doing something. I'm like, well, we should all be on board to want the same thing, want justice within our communities, but we're not. And now we're seeing the real division all the way in 2020 with the more recent situations. But, I learned a lot about organizing and what it really means to protest during that time. And even what happened, and we talk about the different racist acts that happened on campus. At the time, the University of Missouri was getting hit hard. And, a year later, one of their students doing a hunger strike and did things, supports of the students. They didn't call it wasn't Black Student Union, they call it something different too. But essentially, the Black Student Union support them, whether it was a writing or just trying to figure out, should we send. We didn't go. We thought about going at one point to go help Missouri, the Mizzou kids protest. But that, I felt like the end of my college, it just really got intense, and I learned the foundation of what advocacy could really look like.
Right.
So yeah, and I know it's been since at K-State, particularly with things that have happened on campus, and leading into your time when I leave, when I left there. But as we talk about advocacy and protest, I'm curious as to things, how you talked about supporting the Black community and collaborating with BSU to continue to um, keep our issues first in mind? And what ways do you feel like you get support, vice versa? How, you know, with the X community, and when we talked about in that protest, you did immigrants were welcome here happening. You know, what other ways could there be more collaboration like that when you look at issues that intentionally impact the Latinx community?
Yeah, I feel like we should just have like I feel like people need to have more like honest conversations and like uncomfortable conversations at the end of the day. I feel like one thing that maybe I wish uh I could have helped with would have been like having those dialogues between, whether it be via LULAC or via Halo, which is another organization on campus, the Hispanic American Leadership Organization, and have them uh, do like an event with BSU and talk about certain things that um, impact both. You know, I feel like uh, a lot of times people, when they think about DACA, they think about just Latinx families and communities being affected, when in fact a lot of DACA recipients are also they're also Black. They're also, you know, not just Afro Latinx, but a lot of Nigerian students or just other students are also DACA, not just Latinx. So making sure that people know about that, people talk about certain things like the usage of the N word in the Latinx community, um, uh, colorism in the Latinx community. Just sitting down and having like real conversations. I feel like that's what people need to do. And I feel like a lot of times, you know, I'm not trying to get on here and bash anyone or anything like that, but I feel like I feel like K-State has had the right or a good idea or intention with the KSU Unites that they do. But at the end of the day, I felt like you know, there was some inspiring talks and things like that and stories and but I felt like at the end of the day, it felt like the same people would show up to those events. You know, the same people that already were or already had an idea or were educated on these topics were the ones who would show up. So we should focus on how we can educate those who are not used to having, you know, people of color. Like that Manhattan, when people would go to K-State, some people would come from really, really small towns.
Yeah.
And I remember having like a class and being like, you know, the only person of color in there. And some people were like, wow, I've never met anyone of color. And so I was just like, oh, okay. You know, and just, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, well. But I just like, just have, I wish that those conversations would happen, and hopefully, you know, BSU and Halo or LULAC, if you guys would organize like a talk like that and really address issues that at the end of the day, you know, I feel like unfortunately, like I saw like on my own Facebook, I saw like people from the Latinx community getting upset because, you know, we're out here saying Black Lives Matter, and they're like, hey, what about, you know, like the kids in the cages and things like that. And it's like, okay, but like you have to, like, it's not a fight, like it's not it's not a, hey,
who's suffering the most right now,
more, right? Like it's not like an oppression
not a weird thing to be competitive about. Yeah.
Right, like I don't know why people are like that, but you know, we all have struggles, and I feel like in both communities there's a lot going on, and it's time to just stop trying to compare our struggles and try to rank which one is worse, and instead let's talk about how we can help each other out.
So I agree. I love what you said with this idea of collaborating and idea of intersectionality on a lot of the challenges. Talk about colorism specifically, and like the use of the N word. I told y'all I'm in New York, and talk about culture shock. You know, I'm used to the classroom or the classmate, like you said, saying, "Oh, I've never saw a person of color before. I'm out here," and I really, maybe I was ignorant, but it was exposure to the Afro Latino community. Like, a lot of my friends are Afro Latino, and I see that kind of between like, you know, the Black community and the Latinx community, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like colorism prevails, and I'm learning a lot about usage of the N word because I was not used to you know, anybody that I didn't think or that didn't identify necessarily African American or Black saying the N word, and those
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot that we can learn from each other and get educated, because I think sometimes, you know, speaking for myself, right? I don't speak on behalf of the entire community, but myself, I didn't really, you know, I knew the diaspora was big, but I didn't, you know, you don't realize it until you see it. And you see that play out to the conversations around protesting and advocacy on the East Coast, in particular, just out here. And there's so much, like, my about, you know, I was hanging out with my friends who are Puerto Rican and Black, and how they grew up, and it was just like, it was the same to them. It was like, we're the same. and that was my culturally shocked, you know what I'm saying? And so, and I became a lot more, I guess, aware of how there's a lot of crossover, but then there's a lot of conflict in this idea of like colorism within, like, you know, I'm a dark skinned, you know, Afro Latino man, and, you know, my cousins are over here, and my uncle thinks this, and I'm like, oh, so similar to
Yeah.
and I'm like, we just need to talk about it more, because again, this, unfortunately, it's all kind of rooted in, you know, racism and white supremacy, right? And it's like, how can we collaborate more to advocate for our communities together, especially with all of the crossover and overlapping. So yeah, in the comments though, I just want to just saying that, you know, affirming that the diaspora is huge, so much we can talk about together. People are saying yes, collaboration, yes to you. So I think that there's some opportunity for those people still at K-State tuning in. It's a lot of
Right.
yeah. So in what ways do you feel like, you know, what you learned at K-State when it comes to advocacy and protesting what does that, your learnings from K-State, pour over into now your professional life as a you were already adult, but you know what I mean, you're really adult.
No, as an official adult.
Official one.
I feel like just being I feel like what people need to learn is that, like, being an advocate, like, you can use that in the quote unquote real world, you know, like, you know, if something's not going right in your job, you know, you have to learn to speak up for yourself, like, hey, you know what, I don't feel like my voice is being heard, etc., etc. I feel like that's a trait that you would want to have, regardless. I think that it also, like, just helped me become more confident in myself, and just it, I've just been able to, I don't know, put myself in more uncomfortable situations, and be able to like create a lot of network, for sure. I think this my time at K-State, I really created a bigger network than perhaps I had in the past. And so just making sure that I use these skills here as a college advisor. I want to make sure that, you know, I advocate for my students, that I make sure that they are being treated correctly by staff. I want to make sure that they are receiving the same opportunities, you know, in comparison to perhaps like us, like students in the school, like Shawnee Mission, or, you know, like where you went to school in Johnson County. So I feel like this is, my advocacy days, like, they're never gonna end. You know,
Yeah, they're never
gonna do that in my job. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
But I'm gonna be doing that in my job. I'm gonna be doing that. You know, continue to do that whenever I see anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Advocacy never. If anyone's listening, feel like they say advocacy never ends. It just
never ends.
It just evolves. I like to say it evolves, because my learnings, you know, similar to you, I learned, you know, how to speak up for myself, how to be confident in who I am, how to be authentic in who I am, and being comfortable authentically, or authentic rather, in myself, in the space where it's a little bit tougher in the corporate world. And I've learned this: not the hard way, but kind of was hard for me that, being a student, you literally have resources at your fingertips. You have advisors who help guys, who can kind of teach us the ropes of what we can do. Protest, we can make noise and go to the class and still do. But at work, it looks a little bit different. There's a lot of different. You want to keep your job, but then how do I address this? When we see things like George Floyd, more recent Breonna Taylor. Well, I'm used to organizing on campus and having a conversation right away. Now in work, well, how do I find the same outlets, or how do I draw upon some resources, or how do I bring awareness and when that are unjust within my work, and that looks a little different than what it did when we were students, right? Brian's in the comments saying super conservative corporate America for sure, because
right.
Same company, and so we've set conversations, holding tongues, or trying to not even holding tongues. I always tongues. It's more so evolving for a different space. Also this idea of like, I'm in Brooklyn, you was in Kansas City, or hot in Kansas City, or definitely hot in New York City. I got work in the AM to like 5 p.m. The protest's been happening all day. I want to go out there. You know what I'm saying? Can I request my manager, hey, I'm going to log off early to go out to the protest? When I tell him that, what happens? What side of the coin is he on? You know what I'm
Not
saying?
only that, but like sometimes, you might, I feel like sometimes, it's not like in school whenever it's like I remember like the day after elections, I wanted to take that day off,
Mm-hmm.
and it probably would have been a little bit easier to do so in school, but like sometimes I don't think it's acceptable or looked at as okay if like perhaps all this stuff that has been going on, for you to be able to be like, hey, you know what, boss, like it's just too much, like I've just been feeling overwhelmed, I need a couple days off, and sometimes you can't get that. There's no they don't understand that mental exhaustion that you can get from what is happening in the world.
For sure. And this is why, to what you're just saying, is why I say advocacy evolves, because now you're advocating on behalf of students and yourself as a staff member at a school, and saying, hey, I want to speak up, because when situations like this happen in our communities, I want to be able to get some mental relaxation a little bit. I want to be able to practice self-care, or I want to be able to be first from students, and we have to be able to bring conversation to a school environment. For me, advocacy now looks like, how do I speak up in a way that is effective and productive in a corporate setting? How do I then build the space to allow other people that look like me to experience this the next time it happen again, to talk to their manager, or to be. I hear who's talking. I'm kidding.
Why is so loud?
I'm kidding. But how do I advocate for and go to the protest and still work for my company? You know what I'm saying? So advocacy just evolves now. So it can still happen. It can still be effective.
Bro, I don't know why they are so loud. I'm like,
where you at?
Bro, I'm at the park, but I don't know why.
You gotta go to.
You're right. I'm just gonna walk. They're right next to each other. There's no need to yell, sir. I don't understand.
I don't know of it. It's probably just way louder in your ear. That's how the train is right now. Yeah. So yeah, I think that for people who are still though, a big takeaway for me, if I could say anything to the student, is that learn the foundation of advocacy and protesting now, and realize that it evolves as you get older, and it looks a little bit different, but the values, the key elements are still the same. So learn now, so then you're ready to be more effective and productive in your, I don't want to say your real adult life, but in your career. I'll say that, your career. Right. Someone's laughing at the fact I had to leave the park.
I know. I wonder if they're laughing because I had to move. I don't know if it was just loud on my end, but these people, like, there was no need for them to be yelling. They were right next to each other. I was like, I know y'all hear me talk.
Protest. Hey, I'm on a I'm on a call. Chill out. We're talking to this. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, how dare you talk so loud in a public place?
I have a question. Were you able to protest at all recently?
No, being back home is different for me. So like, I've just been trying to like, share as much as I can or like sign petitions and stuff. And I've been wanting to like, I wanted like when the first protest happened in Kansas City, I wanted to, but yeah, being Latinx and living at home, there's certain things that I don't get the permission. I know I'm grown, guys. I know, but it's different. It don't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm grown. There's certain things. If my mom says no, it's a no.
Uh-oh.
So, but I've just been trying to like help as much as I can with signing petitions, making sure I check people because honestly, if for my Latinx people watching this, honestly, we can sign all the petitions we want, but unless we are checking the people in our life and in our community, that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done.
That's very apparent, especially now. A lot of people breaking up friendships, cutting
right
everything that's going on right now, conversations that are happening. Yeah. I wasn't. What I was gonna say, I did go to one protest in Brooklyn, and I would say it's a lot different than one protest in Missouri. It was way more people. First, pretty packed. We had like 5 protests going on simultaneously. It'd be like one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan, one in the Bronx. It'd be all over the place. But I went to one, and it was more majority white folk at the protest, and that's what, from what I see in pictures, that's what it looked like across the nation. And so that was a little bit different because I don't remember that being the thing when all the protests erupted in Ferguson and just across Missouri. I don't think it had that diversity. Does that make sense? I don't know if you remember it being that diverse when you were in high school. Yeah. But I mean, I had to put my phone on the charger.
When I went to the protest in high school, I don't. It was not that diverse. I just remember it was just mainly Black people, honestly. And so just seeing now, like the protests now, I feel like, I don't know, it's just been more insane, but it also makes me happier because it's just like, okay, like, like more people are becoming like involved and stuff. Not just the same people again,
Allies are pulling up. Allies are pulling up and giving us a break. Yeah, but we also, again, in allyship, have to check privileges in every moment. But I did like the fact that allies are pulling up more recently than anything. I had to call out Clark's comment about, he compared the noise at the park to the MSO, which that is never going to change. The MSO is always going to be the most liveliest place in the union. It's super live. You said what?
It's the best place in the union.
The best place in the union. Wow. That's never going to change no matter how old K-State is. That's hilarious.
I'll always remember Mr. Clark getting at us to clean up.
Y'all still trashing the MSO, huh?
People,
and you know Clark is OCD.
He beating it there.
That's awesome. He said I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. Well, I don't have any more questions. I think we've been on here 45. Okay. So Jess has a question for us. What kind of relationships did you make while becoming a student activist? I'll let you answer that question.
Okay. I think that what surprised me, I guess, the most is just how much I actually connected with faculty. So in the sense, I feel like, for example, Jess, Mr. Clark, now Tremaine is there, Madai, Rivera. I just feel like I guess I never would have expected to have become really I guess friends. I can say friends with faculty. I guess when I thought about going to college, I just thought, go get my degree and
Yeah.
like let's
And
leave.
leave.
And then, right, it's just like get your degree, leave, whatever. And then no, I like actually feel like I created like really long lasting relationships.
For
And
sure.
again, I feel like I didn't stay in my own community. I feel like I gained really network and relationships with people outside of the Latinx community, and
Mhm.
I will like be grateful to myself for putting myself in those positions.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Similar answer. Definitely faculty and staff, those relationships are priceless, right? So during my time,
Right.
it was Dr. Elmore, it was Clark, it was Dr. Gordon, played a critical role in my advocacy. And then, I also formed a relationship with Dean Bosco at the time. All these people who are leaving or not there anymore,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. I know. But then I think also what was fascinating about our time is, the amount of other people within the community that I formed a relationship with. So the Manhattan Alliance, can't think of the full name, Manhattan Alliance for Justice and Peace. I want to say that had other church leaders involved. The community advisory board with the police department, the Raleigh County Police Department, I believe. So those relationships were definitely formed during my advocacy at K-State. So yeah, great question, Jess. You're back in your car. You're not about to drive
Right.
on the live. So you're not about
Oh,
to
I'm not
drive on
gonna
this live.
drive. But I came back on my car because the people in the park were being. Maybe I was just paranoid that it was too loud.
All right, you kind of cut out there. Well, we're
Oh,
almost at
I
an
said
hour here. Huh?
I was just saying I got paranoid that it was so loud. So I
Okay,
was like, I'm just
got
gonna
it.
come back to my car.
Got it. All right, no problem. We're almost at an hour, and I know that the Instagram's gonna kick us off in about 13 minutes. But if anyone, I think I like the fact that Jess threw a question out there. Thanks Brian for shouting out the conversation. But are there any other questions that we can ask from like people or answer rather from the comments? Do we have any questions from the 13 people who are watching right now?
the audience, the audience at home.
+1. What does that mean, Desmond?
14. He said
13.
14 people.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, no, I appreciate the opportunity, Dr. Elmo, for reaching out, etc. K-State Alumni Association, of course, my family, Black Student Union. Shout out to y'all for having Leslie and I. It was cool. I loved it. Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments to see if anyone else is going to comment. All right. Oh, you're just echoing. Right. I didn't know that, Desmond. Thank you, Clark. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
It was great meeting you. I heard a lot of great things about you, so I know you're going to be a rock star in your career. So good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.